everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with a new campaign. So, I decided to leave the Let's Plays on the back burner until the Mortal Empires came out, and it's finally out. So, I've been like dabbling with each of the races, seeing which one I like the best, and to be honest, Skaven have become a real quick favorite of mine. It's kind of interesting how they've changed around and how the mechanics are so different. So I kind of want to play as the Skaven, and I will. So, without further ado, let's begin. It's pretty simple what you have to do at the beginning. I mean, I just want to stockpile some food and start gathering some places up. There's a lot to do, and there are a lot of enemies in this game, because obviously the map is absolutely fucking huge. Look at that. So hopefully we can actually conquer the whole world. I mean, what are our objectives? Maintain at least 50% corruption in across all owned provinces. And in the specified provinces. Okay. Control 17 settlements, blah blah blah, yeah. I mean, Hellpit and Skaven Blight, they are kind of targets for me. And maintain 100 units. I mean, it's pretty cool. Nothing about killing Chaos, so I'm assuming we have the option of allying with Chaos. Well, we are technically the next Chaos God. Well, followers of the next Chaos God. But we're going to see. I've had to lower my graphical settings, unfortunately, because there seems to be an issue regarding this patch. Sometimes I get these visual bugs. Anyone who's seen my latest streams can attest to that. It's very, very weird. But we have units set to medium, because medium. I'm not looking for massive battles, I'm just looking to have some fun. Once everything's been solved, I'll do a campaign with Ultra everything again. It's just very odd how that happened. But anyways, let's get back to business. We have one enemy there. We have some food coming in, however it does take a turn, it seems. That's perfectly fine. And we're not going to build up another army just yet. Actually, I might. Let's do an army. Now, I do prefer getting Graciers, especially for Skrulk. I know that the Warlords are quite good, and they're quite powerful, to be honest, but I prefer Graciers. So, let's see. And my favorite one is the Gracier of Plague. The spells are just absolutely beautiful, and they work really, really well. So, let's just get some. There we go. Just so his loyalty doesn't go down, obviously. We're going to stockpile. Basically, we're going to power level up Skrulk a little bit. And move on to getting Mangrove Coast. I will have to get another unit of, what's it called? Probably slaves for the income. Because they are quite expensive. Yeah, the loyalty can be a bit of an issue. So we're going to get some slaves just for it. We'll get some spears, because they're going to be quite useful. And we're going to get into our first fight. I mean, I'm not too worried about this. Because it's just a shitty garrison.
Time to attack!
I mean, he's got a little bit of an army, you know, some slingers and so on, some night runners, mostly clan rats and slaves. And it's not really a worry because we do have two spellcasters and they both have spells of plague. This one has spells of plague as far as I remember. Yeah, he's a plague priest. Alright, cool. So, first what we do is we create our line. Like that. That's actually alright.
Good. Run, chase.
Now that can be an issue. I don't want to lose my Plague Claw catapults just yet. Now they are being kind of sneaky, but that's perfectly fine. By the time they actually get to me, it will be too late. And they're just wasting all their menace below. So let's just start firing a little bit. Plague Claw catapults are extremely useful. I believe that's all their menace below, so that's pretty much fine. Now we start charging forward. Now I did get some menace below because I always want to be sure that I'm not going to get destroyed that early in. We are fighting a garrison which is much larger than ours, so we do have to be very, very careful. However, they tend to break early, because as you can see, it's Skaven after all, so you don't have to expect that many of them coming up. See, victory's in our grasp, we've already got it. I don't know what happened there. Let's bring our Rat Ogres back so we can defend Skrulk. Obviously we don't want to lose him just yet. The Warlords are quite powerful and we do have to be very, very careful with them. But they'll break as soon as the Rat Ogres come in anyway. Yeah, here they go, and they're starting to break. Now, normally I would capture the city. However, the Skaven have a really good mechanic, which is basically that you can use your food to upgrade your city all the way up to rank 3. I believe it costs 20 per upgrade. You don't normally capture the city already as, like for example, if it's level 5 and you capture it, it won't be level 4. You have to really think about this. Because since it acts as a ruin, look, every 20, that does that there. And you have to think about it so you don't actually lose all your things. Now, it does suck, it really does, because you're basically starting again and again and again. That is more than acceptable when you're playing a race like the Skaven. So the idea is to use something to build up and stockpile your food to capture surrounding areas relatively quickly. This being the next target afterwards because it's a pasture. Pastures give you food very similar to how your headquarters would do. I believe it goes up to 7 when it's fully upgraded. I might be wrong. But the plan at the moment is to kind of power level up Skrulk, use this hero to capture Mansgrove, and then afterwards to capture the next building, which has the pasture. However, like I said, really think on your food and if it's worth it. Last thing you want to do is get destroyed by a faction because you didn't think ahead. Raiding also gives a lot of income. And it gives a lot of food too. I believe every character raiding will give you free food. Free food is obviously quite good per turn, because every city you have and every army you have also diminishes your food. Now we had someone unite against us, perfectly fine. We can see that the Skaven army is coming back to try and take the city.
Fight, kill, infect.
The plan at the moment is this.
The final tide arises.
We have enough, so we're perfectly fine. Ambush chance is obviously something that you want to get because the Skaven's movement, the standard movement, it always has a chance of ambushing an enemy. Now you want that because obviously the more you can get, the better. If you ambush your enemies often, you can use that to your advantage for many things. Now, unfortunately, it looks like we're going to have to wait one more turn. So we're going to get some more slaves, and the cheapest ones possible, just to be able to keep his loyalty up. The more battles you do, the more loyalty they'll get and so on. However, you don't want a loyalty issue, because they can betray, and I believe if they betray inside the city also joins them. I'm not 100% sure, because normally when I'm close to losing someone to loyalty, I normally just kick them out. I don't want to obviously deal with a Skaven rebellion whilst I'm fighting with any enemies. Okay, so now we cannot capture this just yet. However, we are going to move in. Raiding stance requires 50%. So what we'll do is we'll raid just to get a bit more food. And we'll attack it again.
Time to attack.
The more Skaven corruption in the region, the more you'll be able to get in terms of menace below and so on. So use that to your advantage. Once again, you don't have to worry too much about their buildings and so on, because at the end of the day, you're just going to start it all over again. So I'm working on this, and then obviously I'm going to work on income, because we are playing in Legendary mode. And that means that everything is going to be very expensive. So we need to be able to just smash our way up. Now with this, we can start getting Vermintide, which is going to supplement our menace below, so we don't have to kind of use it too much. In terms of this, we still need a way to go for growth and so on, but that is the next target. We have to be very careful because there is a a lizardman faction over here that we're fighting. Now, there is not a lot of these factions. I believe there's another one over here, and they united against us too. But we need to capture this land before we start moving up to deal with Mazdamundi and with Teclis. who is starting here, by the way, and the Vampire Coast is over here. It's not all of Lustria, it's unfortunate, but due to the pure scale of the map, you know, look at that. I mean, we're here, and the map doesn't even pan out all the way anymore. It is absolutely massive. We will eventually start moving into the Southlands and so on, but my main concern is currently to capture all of Lustria, make my way northward, take over Nagrund, and then with massive Skaven armies, smash our way into Ulthuan, and then start doing some damage in other locations. Apparently these Skaven want to take their time, which is fine, because they've got a very weak army, and I can take them out no problem. They're encamping, they're trying to build up, that's perfectly fine. He's loyal, so that's perfectly good. Now we don't have a lot of money. So what we're going to do first is we are going to treasure hunt. While searching the ruins of an ancient city, you have the feeling that your every move is being watched. Cautiously you proceed. In an abandoned building, a dummy wall reveals a shrine to the great necromancer, Nanash himself. Well, we're going to put it to the torch. Untainted all provinces. Not the best thing we want, because we want to actually deal with that. Wait, actually, did that work for us? It was 3 untainted, but why am I still getting that? We want more Skaven corruption. That's pretty much what we want.
I see you.
You see, the more corruption we're getting here, the more of embedded below we get, and it's more cheaper. Hopefully Skrulk shuts up at some point. Now, since we do have a decent... Well, we'll do that. Next turn we get the city, and then we work on this one to get the pastures. We are kind of stuck for cash, but that's why I'm trying to boost up Skrulk as much as humanly possible.
Be quick, quick, for the blight in you already takes hold.
He wants a peace treaty, however, I'm not going to give him one.
Yes, yes, more virulent am I.
Okay. Skrulk has leveled up again. We're losing some units from this, but it's perfectly fine because obviously we've got that.
Nothing. All is disease.
Our ambush chance is sorted. I might do now for the looting, and then afterwards we just have to move up and get this. Then eventually we can start upgrading our units. I don't bother too much with upgrading Skrulk himself because Skrulk is more of the caster type. I mean, the more caster heroes you want to just improve your army. If you have anything spare, by all means, but focus more on building up your forces. Now, I'm going to get that for Pestilent Breath. I know that's going to slow me down to get this. However, if it's cheaper, it's better to use. Even though we'll be mainly casting it with Skrulk, the more we can use it, the better it works for us. Now, this is what we're saying. Okay, so it's 1,500, that's fine. But now we get that, we colonize. It's got this, so it's a bit of extra cash. We can get this, however, there's no point, because it's not food. Were it food, it has to be done Now we can build up a wall, and then finally we can either build up growth or we can build up public order. Now at this point, public order isn't too much needed because obviously we're not going to be here. We're not going to be expanding too much at the moment. So growth is kind of important because unfortunately our capital cannot be upgraded via the same system unless we lose it. And we're not planning on doing that anytime soon, are we? Now Teclis is here and he's going to be expanding very, very brutally at one point. He's going to move up that way and eventually he might turn on us, so we've got to be very, very careful. However, we do have the advantage of all this. Unlike the races from Vanilla, who are also in the game, we do get access to the little rights that we had from the Vortex campaign. This one being obviously the best one for us. Growth for all provinces, public order for all provinces, and so on. Now, a Doom Engineer, very, very powerful, because obviously we can use that to our advantage. And I'm going to hopefully use that to my advantage when we actually start moving. Now, we need a little bit more food, which is perfectly fine. So the idea right now is, since we've conquered this, and we're going to start getting some cash, because all buildings give you money for the Skaven. It's very good to have. Everyone gives you money. It's usually 80 or something, or 60 in the case of the clan pit. They don't really give too much, but that's how your Skaven economy is built. The more buildings you have, the better. It's a very swarmy type of mechanic. So eventually we'll get our walls, and we'll get all this. By that time, we should have had our army kitted out once again, and been able to take over this land to get the pastures.
Clan Pestilens will rule the world!
That's perfectly fine. We'll just get into another big fight. To be honest, I'm not too bothered about that. If he wants to cause more issues, it works out for me because I get a bit more experience. And he's probably going to have just clan rats and slaves anyway, so that's perfectly fine. Now we start building this up because obviously we want the cash. And we move our hero up this way. Now, they come in winded, so we're going to have to get them normal. And you see, we can just skip this. It's slaves and clan rats and so on.
Time to attack.
We did lose a few clan rats, but we're going to get a few back with our regeneration. We now have enough food to casually move back. And we have to be very careful about this, because obviously the less food we have, the less public order we get, the less building, the less growth, the less leadership and everything. So we're going to be very careful, but I want to get to plentiful. Now you can get more of a food camp the more places you capture. I mean, that's pretty obvious. So you've got to be very careful that you're obviously getting everything that you do need. Now, let's get that. We're almost there for the upkeep. That's perfectly fine. Now you're probably wondering why I need the upkeep. Well, look, 238. It's not a lot, but considering where we are at the moment and we're building up a second army, they are quite expensive. And obviously the Rat Ogre is 290 at the moment, and the Plague Claw Catapult 214. Right, that's perfectly fine. Now, look at them normally, right? 117, 117. Here it's 117. So obviously, if we can reduce our income, we are pretty much safe there. Because obviously, look, we can get up to -15, and then an extra -8, which works out for us quite well. Now, we can get Envoy of the Council, which is going to increase our diplomatic relations with Skaven. Eventually, I would like to get Queek to join our side, if he's still alive. And usually it's the case that he will be. But that's the next target, and now we have to start building up cash, which can be an issue if we're not building up. So the plan at the moment is to regenerate a little bit with this guy, and then just go raid a little bit. Get him some XP from raiding, and just build up as we can. There are a lot of enemies to deal with. There are, I believe, over 60 factions at the start. And obviously, as they start getting destroyed, some of them will get larger. We want to be able to be safe and not have to deal with too many enemies. Now, the problem with this is that there's going to be chaos coming in at around turn 100, more or less. And the game is currently quite unbalanced. That all 5 chaos factions that appear, 4 standard chaos factions and 1 warherd of chaos, will aim for you directly. Now, it's perfectly fine in the sense that we are currently in a zone which is okay. You know, we'll have one to deal with and then the others will slowly come for us. But we need to hurry up. We need to pretty much hurry up. Clan Eshin's performing rites, that's perfectly fine. This is really expensive. It's very, very expensive, but we're going to try and get up to here. You know, the food capacity is what we have at the moment, and our current capacity is 110. That's pretty good, to be honest, but we do need to start upgrading quite heavily. The problem being is that obviously we don't have a lot of money coming in. So first what we do is we just do it again.
Unleash pupils. Fight my brothers.
We sack it, a little bit of money.
Yes, more virulent am I. My eyes gone, but I see.
Skrulk is almost there to start getting some more cash in, which is going to be perfect for us. We can now start upgrading this lad, and obviously we want to just keep on going as much as possible. Now, we've unlocked a right. It's not really the best right to use, so we're going to leave it for later. The good thing is we can kind of just stockpile on rights. We've got the 4 there, we've got the 4 active, and we need them, we will use them. But we're building up here, we're starting to get our money. In 2 turns we'll get another boost for cash. So we can either do this, or we can do this. I would rather have a protection here. And it's pretty much just in case Teclis decides that he doesn't want to deal with us. Well, he doesn't want us to be alive, better said. So once we're doing that, we're going to start moving here. Let's start stockpiling a little bit. The loss of cash is going to be absolutely brutal, and we do have to be careful obviously because of all this, but I rather have a little bit of safety before moving in to deal with the bigger kingdoms. Skaven are very squishy, and if we have to deal with lizardmen and so on, we have to be prepared. For example, lizardmen, they don't have a lot of range, they will charge into us, and they will use very strong units, such as, for example, Pestilens and so on. A lot of Sauruses too, which don't break that easily, and they do go enraged. The High Elves themselves have a lot of range, so we have to be able to not get destroyed by a bunch of High Elves. Now, the Undead and Teclis are fighting. Teclis is expanding. Don't worry too much about Teclis at the moment. We're building up diplomatic stuff with him, because obviously right now he's more interested in dealing with the Undead. Now let's move up to here.
More power, yes, yes.
See, one more turn and we'll be ready. And at least in one more turn we'll be able to expand on this, because we are going to get that. And it's good because we're going to get the first one possibly within this turn. Yeah, we're going to get the first one within this turn. I'd rather be safe, because I've seen the brunt of the Chaos Invasion. I've seen how powerful it actually is.
Pestilens.
And believe me, it is not easy.
Sacrita. Steer. Clan Pestilens.
The Chaos Invasion is actually pretty brutal. You see, 280 now, these are 215. It's not a lot, but at least it gives you a little bit of an extra push. The Chaos Invasion, I've got to tell you guys, it is very, very brutal. I've suffered during my 24-hour stream. I did suffer, and they came from all sides. Eventually, I just got swarmed, and I had to lose land. So you've got to be very safe on picking your enemies, especially when playing in legendary mode.
Your words are nothing.
If you can get an agreement going on with Teclis, that's a good idea, to be honest. But you need to be able to move around. So now we've got the invasion coming in, which is not too bad, but we need that land after we have taken over this and actually built up a little bit more. The first few turns are going to take a long while, to be honest, but it's worth it at the end of it when you start using everything that you need. With Skrulk being more powerful, he'll be able to deal with the Lizardmen without any issues, and we'll be able to start smashing our way through. Skrulk is one of the best spellcasters, I've got to say, because obviously his spells are plague, yeah? But there's a lot of debuffs and so on. When you're fighting heavily armored units, such as Pestilens and so on, taking off their armor does kind of work when you're smashing your way. You take off their armor, you send a lot of spears forward, and boom, you know?
Bishop of Decay.
The Fuming Serpent. Well, we can't raid that because we're not going to deal with that just yet.
Decay and die. Kill, slay, fight, nurse. Leave nothing.
Right.
Bubonicus.
Get a little bit of income in. Get that in. That's given us a nice little boost. Once again, start improving this lad. I would like to get the Plague Furnace eventually, but first we want to work on this just to get Power Drain and Arcane Conduit. Okay, so let's get the poison.
Watch your back, Tail.
Okay, we have lost a lot of cash, but we're going to start moving in. The problem is obviously the lack of cash does brutalize us. So the next turn, we're going to start recruiting some more clan rats and get ready to take over Sabatun. Afterwards, we're going to start expanding that way. The less I have to deal with Teclis, the better, and hopefully he's liking the fact that I'm actually killing the Skaven. He is. Now, I would like to use this lad, however, the reason behind this issue is that since we don't have any, we don't have that much income, I don't want to, like, smash my way through, and we do have, like, rebellion issues. Now, I would like to get, we've got 8 slots here, it's not 10, unfortunately it's not a capital. So, we can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We can actually get all our big buildings. However, if we don't, if we get 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, actually we can get all of them. That's perfectly fine for us. Because that way we can actually get our garrison and we won't have to worry too much. We can use our 2 slots here. That's 1 for that. Oh, no, because of the blessing pool. Right, so this city will not have its main protection, but that's perfectly fine because we want this and we want that. So we are going to avoid getting the chain sentry beast. It does suck a little bit because obviously 2 rat ogres and so on. And it's going to have a shitty garrison, but we would want to get this, the Den of Secrets, because this gives us a recruit rank for our lords, hero capacity +2, and obviously it gives us the access to gutter runners and death runners. So we want to get as many good characters as possible. Sometimes you have to just take advantage. I know it sucks about this, because you would want it, especially when fighting Chaos. But considering that your line of defense is Mansgrove and Marks of the Old Ones, you don't have to worry too much about the oncoming Chaos hordes, as long as you have a decently defending army.
Lastria is mine.
Now our income has been increased a little bit, so we have to be a little bit safe here. Especially since we see he's got an army coming. Now, he's going to send out a lot of stuff. We are in legendary mode, so they're going to be like spawning a lot of troops. We go here, he's going to have quite a few night runners and so on. What works to our advantage is that we do have a lot of stuff. So what we first do is smash the town.
Unleash corruption. Tide arises.
And unfortunately, he's going to go and defend the town. Now, we don't have too much of an issue with public order. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this lad up here. To move them all together, and then we'll attack together. There's a public order issue, there is, but we'll be getting rid of that very, very soon. Once we capture this, we'll have a bit better off. We can get more food from this, but it does give us less income. And the problem with Skaven is you have to balance your income and your food, hence the capturing of a pasture. Right now, we're getting to the top of our food limit, which is perfect for us, because I'm going to start taking the Marks of the Old One as soon as Skrolk is ready. Alright, we don't have to worry about that. We can fast forward it now. The undead are taking their lands back from Teclis, which is great. If we can get rid of Teclis, that would be very helpful. Now, normally I wouldn't bother with sending 2 forces up, but the problem is that he does have a lot of units. I'd rather just come in and deal with them relatively quickly. As you can see, he's getting some night runners and gutter runners and so on, so the more we can move out, the better it works out for us.
Move!
And that solves a problem.
Fight my brothers!
Skrolk has leveled up once again. This lad has leveled, so we can actually start bringing him back. Now, I don't want him to get too far off, because I want him to raid.
Run, fools!
And then eventually he'll make his way down.
Join us.
Our income is massively growing. We do have a potential enemy here. However, they are suffering because they've been plagued by one of the fellow Skaven.
Rule the world.
So we're pretty okay there. This lad has leveled up, so we're going to start improving the debuff, because this is a very good poison, right? Makes them a little bit less damaging and less speed. Eventually pairing that up with Wither, you can do a lot of damage. Like, look, minus 60 when you get it fully upgraded, yeah? That is pretty much reducing the armor of the Saurus units right down to 0, which is obviously very helpful. Now that our money is increasing, we're going to take over this land as soon as Skrulk has leveled up fully, which will take a small while, but that will give us a nice amount of income, and then we can start moving. As you can see, the lizardmen are expanding, so we do have to prepare ourselves, and I would rather use Skrulk to start charging out. The good thing is we can use this to our advantage, and we can protect ourselves without any problems. They're declaring war on Eshen, which means they're going to want to get this city. Now we can start getting our first few items, which is good for us, obviously. However, the lack of this is going to be a problem, so we're going to have to quickly level up twice.
Scamper forward. Unleash corruption. Soon shall be Archplague Lord.
Right, one more level and we're good to go. Once again, ambush, because I want to be a sneaky player. Now, that is being built. It's going to take 2 turns to build that. As you can see, the problem is with this. It lies with everything. If you start doing something, you need to do something else somewhere else, and that can be a massive problem. So for the time being, we're going to leave both heroes there. We're going to improve our standing. So that's 4 public order. It's not really a lot. But we're going to capture the marks of the old one as soon as Skrulk has leveled.
Speak! Be quick, quick! For the blight in you already!
A trade agreement with Teclis. I mean, it's the most weirdest thing ever, but it works. Here come the vampires. We're perfectly fine. Okay. Our food is great, we're done here. We can build this now to just kind of boost up. We've got to be very, very careful about these guys. But we can get a peace treaty, so that's perfect for us. Okay.
The sphere is mine. Time to attack!
Now that we have a peace treaty with that potential enemy, let's go capture that pasture. And next turn we can capture this, so that's perfectly fine. Let's move him down and keep him raiding though. Unless it can get very far off like this.
Rapture, my plague brothers! All hail Horned Rat!
Nah, we're going to move it fast. He's not going to be able to reach. However, it does work in our advantage because it will lower the public order issue a tiny bit. It's not perfect, but it's still better than something, than nothing. We're going to do that. And now with you, let's start working on this. We're going to start getting power drain, which is obviously going to make Skrulk more useful. His living sense is just to be around. You know, he's got loads of stuff, but it's not really too much that I'm too worried about. I just want to get this territory, build it up, and build up from there. Now, we are upgrading, and it works, so let's try and get a non-aggression pact. That works for me, because I don't want to deal with Teclis just yet. I want to get this, I want to get my pasture, and then afterwards, I want to start smashing out. Obviously, this is going to take a while, because we do have to deal with a Skaven up there. And we do have to start expanding this way. The plan is to capture all of Lustria, which is up to here. After which, it's all Nargothrond and the High Elves, but we're not going to have to deal with that too much. If we can capture the continent before Chaos arrives, we're fine. If not, then we're going to have to deal with a lot of issues. But at the time, right now, we are doing alright. We just have to kind of keep building that up. Okay, let's start moving out this way. We've still got a way to go. Obviously, there's a lot of factions, so these do take a while. But obviously, I prefer having a longer time to deal with end turns and more content than nothing. It keeps them busy, because if they would have made the zones smaller, we'd have to deal with a bunch of enemies. We'd have to deal with a bunch of, like, enemies much quicker, because they'd start expanding, they'd start causing more shit. At least now we are a little better off. Now, since we don't have that, we're just going to come here and we'll capture it straight after. Okay, we're good there. He's expanding. Skrulk has now got his income. See, we're 1,800, and now this works for us. So let's take this over.
Move! Unleash corruption.
The good thing is we have enough food to do both cities. So now we just do that.
Find precious things. Make hoard.
The Marks of the Old One has this building. We're going to actually get this. Get rid of that. It's going to cost us a little bit more, but it's going to be worth it because we're going to start getting some income boosts. And now we're going to build that. Now, as this works, is we're going to get a lot of stuff sorted. So we have to be a little careful, it seems, because there's going to be a rebellion. So let's build up a few more clan rats and deal with the rebellion that's going to appear right now. Now, we've captured something, so we can choose if we want cheaper buildings, more food, but 30% less tax rate. Obviously, we do not want that, so let's get the growth. It's going to take a while till we actually get everything that we need. The good thing is, obviously, with a rebellion, we can get a little bit more cash.
cannot see you, but I know you smell reek of...
Now, we don't want a non-aggression pact with the undead, because they are fighting Teclis, and we don't want to have an issue with Teclis.
Lustrian scum, filth.
These guys want a non-aggression pact. Will you also give me military access? Thank you. Because I will want to travel that way. The Skaven are patient. Whereas with Beastmen and Chaos, you want to like smash everything really quickly. The Skaven are thinkers. You know, in the lore, they'd been there for years and years before they actually showed themselves out.
Grows, my lord. News of your conquest.
Yeah.
All is doomed.
Now with this, we can get our cash. It's going to give us a nice boost to our income.
The Vermintide.
It's an ambush. Now, they do have more... They're kind of, like, even. Obviously, they do have a spellcaster and so on, but we can take this out. Now, a good tactic for ambushes is just kind of wear them out with the menace below. I haven't needed to use any extra, so I'm not wasting my food. The idea is just to kind of whittle them down. That way, when it comes to the fact that we can start expanding, we'll have a little bit extra food or a bit of extra cash or XP. The idea is to be smart about this. You don't want to smash your way through and get yourself destroyed relatively quickly. So as you can see, we've got that. It's perfectly fine. We're going to let them keep moving. It doesn't bother me. Use the menace below on their unit, so it does a little bit of a keepsake. Now obviously they're not going to do that much damage, but the fact of the matter is some damage is better than no damage. That's 2. Okay. Now we start buffing our units. Unfortunately, we are going to take some damage here.
Die! Skaven! Yes! Ready, ready! Yeah, let's kill rats! Yes, yes, yes! I'll fight another time for the Vermintide!
Now you would like to spread out your forces. The only problem is that considering that they have the same unit composition more or less as us, they will kind of just come from behind and do this. The loss of troops you should not worry about, like whatsoever.
Retreat! Surrender! Back underground! It shall be done! Our tail's yours! Scammer, go! fight things and greatest of magic users. Yes. Master Guild! Save my own fur! Clan rats!
There can be a little panic, especially with the spells, but the good thing is that once they're doing that, they are dying out.
Retreat, retreat! Ready, ready! Back underground!
Now we don't want to waste all our magic because we're waiting until we can get this done again.
Clan rats! You all die! Attack! What? Creature in a car! Creature in a car! Creature in a car!
Don't worry too much about their hero, worry about their main forces. I know it's kind of like, a lot of people like to focus on the heroes, but you want to get this twice. If you can break them relatively quickly, like this, right? And if they run away, you can use that to your advantage to get another battle in. Which is obviously what you want if you want to level up quickly. We did take a lot of heavy losses, and they lost less than us, but mind you, we have slaves and they have loads of clan rats. So we can get food, we can sell them, or we can just get our troops back.
Sacrifice to horned rat!
It's perfectly fine because we do get XP from doing, we do get some food from doing just standard fights.
Faithful servant of decay!
And now we go in for round 2, which has our garrison.
All. You will fight. You die. More slaves.
We'll get our troops back.
Gracie. Ready to
We're going to move up this way because obviously we don't have to deal with too much there.
stink of betrayal strong.
And we're going to wait before we start improving too much. But we are going to improve this because obviously we do want the public order.
The council's voice. What's your back tail?
Once this has been built, we don't have to worry too much.
I am Techless, High Lord.
Now, we will be doing an extra long episode today, and we will possibly be doing 2 episodes today, because I rather just to get this done and expand from there. Doesn't take too long, and an hour's already gone relatively quickly. But the main thing is that we want to be able to charge out without a problem. Once we have the pastures, we'll be in a bit better position. Then we can start moving out. The great thing is, unlike the other factions that need to kind of rely on growth, we rely mostly on food. And we can eventually start spawning up our... The most I've seen is capital buildings going up to level 3. Sorry, level 4. You know, like provincial capitals and so on. And obviously we want to use that because if we can, we end up getting more and more and more. It's just we need a lot of cash, which is easy to do when you start getting buildings such as these, where everything starts getting upgraded relatively quickly. And we can do more with this, so we're going to do that. And we're going to wait a turn. We're actually going to wait so we can regenerate a little bit, because it's more expensive the more troops you have. Now, with this, you know, we've got 2,600 income. That's going to be perfect for us when we start moving out. We don't have to worry too much about these guys just yet, but we do want to come up here. So, all their cities have been taken. This one's there, and their capital's there. I know there's another building up here, So eventually we're going to split up our Skaven forces. How are we doing with all this? We need 6 more turns, so I might just start upgrading these buildings as they only cost 900. Yeah, because it's going to take 2 turns for us to take the city anyway, so we're going to do that.
Deal with us, or fight us, but I will have my way.
A defensive alliance. Yeah, that could work. Essentially, we don't want to die out. But expansion is not going to be easy for us. So we have to be very, very careful that we don't make any mistakes. In easier difficulties, it is much easier and we can do a lot more.
Shall be Archplate Lord.
But I kind of want to just be safe there.
Horned Prophet. The Vermintide.
Okay, this is being built up and we're going to get a nice income boost. How we're doing here, that is okay. So at this point, let's just start boosting up Skrulk in places he needs to be boosted up on. Start improving his spells. See, look, we have 5 buildings, which means the building gets us 5, right? But we have 2 armies and 3 settlements. Sorry about that. Now that means that we won't get any more extra food. However, we will now once we take this. We'll start losing food at the beginning, but once we get that extra boost, we'll be able to get a few pastures. And we've got to focus more on scouting out the pastures more than anything else, because we don't want to lose out. Okay, now we're okay here because it seems that the Lore Masters, Teclis, and his buddies have decided to fight Eshen, which is the Skaven in that island. This opens it up for me, so now I can start focusing on moving down and dealing with the enemy.
Your gods are dead. The Horned Rat is all-powerful.
A non-aggression pact. Cool.
Greetings. You seek
A military alliance. Yes, but I don't want to pay you. Okay, so we're here. That's being built up. We don't have to worry too much. Our income is taking a a nice boost. How are we going through here? We have a potential easy move up. But we do have to deal with our enemies there, which we know are our enemies. And we have a graphical issue. Now this kind of happens every now and then. It seems that the patch was not optimized too well, so we're just going to kind of be slow about it. Okay. Level 3. Okay, pastures. First one gives you 30 growth, casualty replenishment, so on and so on, and 4 food. Final one is 6. Now we're going to start losing one, so essentially it's going to give us like a little boost of 5. Now we need to see what's here. That is an empty mine, and the monument is probably around here. We have to start moving down and take over the enemies here, which will most likely be a Lizardman faction. However, that kind of opens it up to a lot of things. We do have a research, so let's start boosting up here. This gives us all the way to give us some growth and some public order. This place is done. Few turns for that, which is perfectly fine. Let's start boosting this. No, we're going to wait. I did forget to build these buildings, so that's something, that's an issue on my part more than anything. Get the growth. Now you're probably wondering why I want the growth, and that's pretty much so when we take the capital city, we won't have to deal with anything else. I am tempted to go and fight Teclis. I am very tempted to go and fight Teclis, but I'm not very well geared just yet. So I'd rather just be a little safer and start expanding with relative ease. Now we've got that. We can start building up these, which is 40. However, we're pretty much okay for the time being. I mean, we'll wait a sec and find out how we're doing this. We're going to get some nice income now too. However, it's not too perfect. But we're going to start moving down. We don't have to really deal with Eshen at the moment, and everyone else pretty much is fine with us. So let's start moving down Scroll. There's a wall there, so should the worst come to worst, we can come back and defend. The mountain pass is here. I think we can... No, we can't travel through there. That's the mountain pass. Okay, so we know that he's got that there. And that's the capital for this area. We do want this, though. We do want to get all these buildings. However, we're going to have to start building up some armies first. So let's start preparing to be able to get some clan rats and eventually storm vermin.
Things, you live long, yes? Yes? I know
I'm more than willing to give Teclis some movement. Now the problem with this is obviously we're spreading ourselves a bit thin, but we don't want to get a third army or fourth. Not only do we have to worry about the income, with obviously it improving every time, well, getting worse every time you spawn another army, but the food, it does cause an issue, and we want to be positive in terms of food.
I am blind.
He's declaring war on me. That's perfectly fine, considering that he's going to be too busy fighting my ally. The Skaven are patient. The Skaven are patient.
Where priest grows.
3 turns for that. Now we could probably boost up relatively quickly if we started actually getting more growth here. So what we're going to do...
Stench of others, too strong. Clan Pestilens is all.
Let's get power drain.
Lord Skrulk. I claim, take this for...
I'm going to wait a little bit. I don't want to expand too much. We've already got a decent area, and I want to get that wall first. I don't want to deal with too many Skaven issues. But the idea is, This little army over here is going to make his way to capture that other city, whilst Skrolk is going to defend both our main area and Sabutum. And it looks like he's trying to go and fight Teclis. Now, Teclis himself has just taken that island, so we do have to keep an eye on the High Elves, just in case. Clan Eshin has now been destroyed. We have to be careful that we don't just build up too far without worrying about the potential enemies that we have in this area. There's a Brayherd. We can start building this up.
A shadow of horned rat. Bring decay. All suffer.
Now, we are still taking a bit of damage with that, but we're going to start upgrading that very soon. The idea at the moment is if we have this, we can just protect ourselves on both sides. And I am going to actually treasure hunt, because hopefully we can find something we can sell and get some cash in. But yeah, we're going to be ending it as soon as I capture that building, and we're going to carry on. There's going to be a second episode today. But basically how it works is it's going to be 2 extra long episodes today, just to get the ball rolling. Okay, let's start moving up here.
Warpstone. Grace.
Put it to the torch, search the shrine. Let's see if anything happens. Alright, some armor. At least we had the same one again, which kind of causes a problem. However, as you can see, there's 2 ways down. Hopefully these guys will give me some military access. This does work for me. Will you give me military access? No. Okay, so they're fighting the same enemies we have, which is kind of good because it's going to give us a little bit of movement. So we're going to take that city now. Now, 4 turns, that's pretty much fine. How are we doing here? We can afford that next turn, so we're going to focus more on this than we are on anything else. I know it's a little bit sucky, but we do need to focus on our capital city just so we can start building up and getting the last things we need. Alright, I'm not too bothered about them expanding and fighting amongst themselves. We do have a few enemies we need to deal with first before we start expanding out anywhere else though. The Sentinels are an issue, and after we've actually expanded here we will start dealing with the Sentinels. That's pretty much all the build up for these 2 episodes is going to be. Just going out, smashing down the Sentinels, and then coming back. So let's build this up here.
Rats are not content. All hail, horned rat.
And we might as well just do that so we can get some extra food and some XP. We're taking some growth reduction because of the public order issue, but in a few turns time that won't be too much of an issue. And then we can get rid of these buildings, which is obviously going to give us back 1,200 each. So that's 2,400. It's not too bad. And whatever happens here. So it's going to be 3,600 as I'm going to build another growth building here just to kind of speed up the process. We don't want to get rid of this at all because it's food, it's income, it's a beautiful amount of income, and it's going to allow us to start spawning out enemies soldiers relatively quickly. Now I do wish these guys would give me fricking access to moving, but apparently not. Will they give me a defensive alliance? They will not. We are starting to deteriorate with them though, so we might have to turn on these guys relatively quickly. They don't like the fact that I'm dealing with that, so I might have to turn on Itza. We do have a decent force, so I might just move back, build up from there, and start smashing my way forward. I think that's the best example we can do, so yeah, we're going to do that, especially since it's a 10 slaughter. I mean, that is absolutely fantastic. A 10 slot building is going to help us out greatly. So let's start moving him back slowly. Let him keep raiding though. And we are going to start building up an army. See, sometimes tactics do change, so we're going to have to switch for this. But a 10 slot building is going to be great because that means we can get everything we need and we can actually start moving out. So let's just be careful because obviously I don't want to suffer too much. But the raiding is going to be good because a little bit of experience is going to come into effect. So how are we doing here? That's going to take 5 turns. We're about to get possibly work on our second. So we might be working in a good degree in terms of growth. But I want to be safe here. I don't want to get my ass handed to me like that. We're going to end it after 2 more turns. Just so I can basically start uploading and work on the second episode. But it's going to be like this. We're going to start killing off these guys, get the 10 slaughter. We're going to get a nice amount of land to be able to protect ourselves just in case. And we might be able to build the wall here if it means getting that there. However, I would like to keep the special buildings up and running in this location just in case, so we don't have to worry about any issues. If we get pushed back, we won't be able to spawn big units and so on. But a 10 slaughter, that is just wonderful for us. Right, we've got more growth coming in, that's perfectly fine. The rebellion's going to come into effect in 2 turns, which is good. That's there like that. We're trying to just build up casually. In another turn we'll get that. This is working out for us. This is very much working out for us. And obviously, once we get this, we're going to have a lot of income just because that added with this adds to a lot of it for us. So, how are we doing here? We okay? We're deteriorating with the elves. That might cause an issue. So what I'm going to do, just to be safe, how far are you from getting lightning strike? Quite a bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up my force here, because I'd like to keep a defensive army at the marks of the old ones. So we're going to actually speed up the rebellions here. Once he gets a little closer. Just to be able to lightning strike, should the elves decide, nope, you guys don't deserve to live, smash. I'm not worried at all, because it's just like little minor factions that are coming into effect. I'm more concerned about dealing with like horrible amounts of lizardmen once I'm fighting the high elves once I'm fighting the lizardmen, and that can be a problem. That can be a massive problem. Ripplehorn tribe has just destroyed itself. That's going to come here. 3 more turns. Okay, well let's move. Let's move this lad over here. Deal with the rebellion, and we'll end it after that. While I would like to improve this and start getting storm vermin in and so on, we still need quite a bit to go. And we do need to build up a decent army if we're going to survive onslaughts of lizardmen, which are going to appear quite often pretty much everywhere. Now, I don't want to deal with the Tackless too, but it seems that the undead might be working towards fighting these guys. So hopefully we're lucky and the undead will destroy Tackless. I can kill undead no problem. We're not using any mods. We are vanilla. This is happening again. This is a bit of an issue. I don't know why this is happening, but everyone seems to think it's because of an unoptimized map. But that's perfectly fine. Let's just do this, deal with the rebellion, and then we're gone. Next turn, we start building up our forces and get ready to destroy the lizardmen. I want that 10 slaughter, and I think it will do us very well to have that. Now, we are at a loss of a defensive army down here, which can be a bit of an issue. But we are going to defend without an issue. Once we know that that's safe, we'll move the army down and we can defend. If anything happens, we can just move him down. But I do need him to have lightning strike. It's very, very important. Right, Headhunters Rebellion. There we go. So what we'll do here, we'll also use Skrulk just in case. Actually, I don't think we'll need to.
All hail horned rat.
Yeah, we'll need to.
Spread corruption. Slash, attack, destroy. Battle fight. Council demands. Blessed by horned rat. I order scurry move. Grey Master. Scorch. Attack down for the horned rat. Color split.
Right, it's all come to plan, so what we're going to do right now is we're going to move up. We are going to get Lightning Strike just in case, because it's more of the case if they use 2 armies to attack me, so I'd rather be safe than sorry, you know? We need 2 turns for this, that's perfectly fine. I am going to start improving the food now. Let's bring up Skrulk here. We're going to end it here, so thank you so much for watching, guys. Skrulk is fucking loud, but it's all cool. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you all again very soon, because there's going to be a second episode today, and you know, the usual, links in the description below. Lore videos start coming out very soon once again, and I'll see you all very soon. Adios.